Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hero Spotlight. Today we'll be looking at everyone's favorite shadow warriors, the Ninja. Now Ninja is a squishy, highly mobile, melee, and slightly ranged assassin class that is truly the jack of all trades but master at none. Ninja is pretty good at about everything, but they're not great at anything, making them extremely difficult to play well. But if you take the time and effort to master the class, you'll have a class that has a skill for any situation, and while Ninja is primarily a melee class, they can whip out their bow and shuriken until someone gets a bit too far away. To start things off, at level 1 you start off with Sneak, and this is just like the other rogue version of the skill, it removes your nameplate. However, it does have great synergy with your level 1 passive, which is Backstab. And it's just like the name sounds, you deal more damage when attacking from behind. Now Backstab is pretty simple. If you left click an enemy from behind, you'll do bonus damage, but if you're sneaking, that bonus damage will be doubled. It's incredibly powerful against casters and kiting classes as they tend to turn their back for you, but against warriors and melee classes you'll probably never get a backstab off. At level 1 you also start off with Kick, and again, just like the ranger skill, it's the short range, low damage silence. The long silence duration coupled with a short cooldown can allow you to blanket silence somebody, or you can just save it to interrupt a critical cast. And because ninjas tend to build a lot of strength, it can function pretty well as a filler skill. Up next at level 5 is Envenom, and you turn this skill on and for a short while, your melee attacks will deal a small amount of bonus armor ignoring damage. It's not that great against casters because you won't get that many auto attacks off against them, but against another melee class, this could be the difference to win a fight. The damage looks like it's pretty low, but if you auto attacked enough, it'll start adding up pretty quickly. At level 10 you get a fun skill, this is Fade, and it's kind of like a ranger's camouflage in that it turns you invisible until you start moving, but the difference is Fade requires it to be very dark out. It's a great skill if you're fighting at night, but don't tend to rely on it. It does have great synergy with your level 15 skill though. This is Blitz. Blitz is kind of like Bolt on the Wizard, except it's built for ninjas, meaning a shorter range, higher damage with a shorter warm-up. Its short range and warm-up make it kind of difficult to land against casters as they'll tend to run away from you, but against a melee class that's trying to bash your head in, they probably are going to miss it and it'll go off easily. But the high armor ignoring damage of the skill definitely make it worth your time to try to cast. Coming in at level 20 you get one of the most entertaining skills in the game, this is Smoke. Now Smoke turns you invisible for 3 seconds, but it's broken on damage and it has a very long cooldown, meaning you have to time your smoke well. If you time it poorly and you get hit by an AoE or a left click, you just wasted one of your most critical cooldowns. It works great with Blitz though, since the warm-up will not break the stealth and it'll only be broken once the damage actually goes off, meaning your enemy won't know that the Blitz is coming. Just make sure that you're creative with the skill, it's not an instant I win button. 5 levels later, you get Backflip, and this skill is awesome. It's almost identical to a Dragoon's infamous jump skill, except it propels you backwards instead of forwards. This is to balance out its shorter cooldown and stamina cost. It also makes it extremely tricky to use. Time it badly and you're gonna backflip into a wall. But if you master the act of jumping, turning around, backflipping, turning around, landing, you will have the greatest mobility skill in the game. It's also fantastic for keeping away from a mobile melee class since it propels you backwards. You don't have to turn around for this, simply press the button and it'll send you sailing away from your enemy. And it'll also fire off your level 30 skill, this is Shuriken. If you right click while holding Flint in your hand, you'll throw 3 shurikens that deal pretty low damage, but it ignores armor. If the entire volley hits, it'll do around 60 to 80 damage depending on your agility, and the cooldown is practically non-existent, meaning that oftentimes shurikens can act as a secondary weapon. Use them on heavily armored target because it pierces armor, or just anyone that's out of range for your sword. The next skill you will receive is at level 35, and this is Garrote, a skill so terrible I actually have no footage recorded of it. It's pretty much Kick, except it has 3 times the cooldown, shorter range, shorter damage in exchange for only half a second longer silence. And you have to be holding string to cast it. But this is compensated by a great skill at level 40, this is Deathmark, and it's probably one of the best ways to track down a player from across the map. It's got a painfully long warm-up and it costs about 2 hearts to cast, but once it goes off for the next 30 seconds your compass will point towards whoever you deathmark. It'll also display one of 2 messages, either your target is close by or your target's a good distance away. If it says that your target is close by, it means they're within 1,000 blocks. If they're a good distance away, they're further than 1,000 blocks out. However, regardless of distance, your compass will always point towards your deathmark target for the 30 seconds that the mark is activated, meaning that if you follow your deathmark long enough, you'll eventually run into whoever you're marking. Be patient with deathmark though. 1,000 blocks may seem like a long way to run, but if you're patient and you stick with it, eventually you will always find your target. And 9 times out of 10 if you're deathmarking somebody, they're not going to expect you to show up. Up next, level 45, Energize. Very easy skill. Press the button, spend some mana, get a lot of stamina back. Just don't forget to cast it. It's pretty easy to forget you have this skill. Level 50, you get another simple skill. This is Eviscerate. Point, click, deal a crap ton of armor ignoring damage on a long cooldown. It's got no warm-up though, so cast this as often as you can. To counterbalance the past 2 simple skills, at level 55 you get a very complicated skill. This is Grappling Hook. It's identical to the Ranger skill of the same name, but it's a lot more useful on the Ninja since it's one of your best ways to keep on top of somebody. It has one of 2 uses, chasing or displacement. You can chase with Grappling Hook by doing the grappling jump. Simply throw the grapple hook out, and when it hits the ground, jump, and it'll pull you very far towards the location. Or you can displace somebody by hitting them with it and pulling them to your location. Either way, it's something that you want, so if someone's extra far away from you, at least try to hit them with the grappling hook. If you miss, it'll still pull you to their location. It's also a fantastic tool to get on top of tall bases and walls. Then at level 60 we get another very simple skill, but this one has a lot of depth to it. This is Escape Artist. If you are ever rooted or slowed, you can activate Escape Artist to break the root or slow and double your movement speed for the next couple seconds. It has an extraordinarily long cooldown though, so if you cast it, make sure you can actually get a lot of use out of it. Don't just cast it every time you get rooted, it's not going to work that well. And finally, last but certainly not least, at level 65 you get Blind. And it's simple, point, click, blind your target. Use it if you think someone's going to cast a nasty spell on you, or you can use it to interrupt a targeted spell. While it doesn't interrupt like Kick does, if your enemy tries to cast something on you and they're blinded, it won't go off. Now when playing Ninja, the number one thing you want to do is watch what your enemy is doing and think about how you can stop that. I backflip to close the gap and I immediately smoke to hopefully avoid any damage the Pyromancer might try to upfront on me. I attempt to get a blitz off because this is a great way to start off with some early damage. I follow with a quick eviscerate and then I backflip away because I see I get cursed. At this point I just have to run away until the curse wears off. I re-engage with a flurry of left clicks to deal some damage before I notice that the Pyromancer is warming up Great Combustion. I backflip away to avoid the stun before re-engaging knowing that he has no more offensive cooldowns. At this point I can play extremely aggressive, so I turn on Venom to get the maximum amount of damage off. I continue to play extremely aggressive because I know that he doesn't have enough damage to finish me off, and I continue to left click him eventually for the kill. Against a squishy melee class like Pyromancer, this tactic is perfectly valid. However, against a more heavy warrior class, you're going to want to kite with shurikens. Your left click is not going to be enough. Against caster classes, I always open with a grappling hook to close that massive gap. You want to get up close to them as soon as you can. I see he blinks away and I notice that he's not too far away, so I continue the chase. I get hit with an ice ball and a fire blast, so I decide to backflip to close the gap. At this point I get off a few nice backstabs and a good eviscerate, which puts a little bit of distance on him. I continue following, seeing as he's not closing up to me. I kick him that way he can't blink away, and I follow up with some shurikens just to put some pressure on him. I continue to chase, throwing shurikens at him until I notice he's warming up Bolt, in which case I smoke to negate the damage and activate my own Blitz. At that point it's an easy win. I still have a very large amount of health to play with, and I'm right on top of a very low health wizard that is probably still confused as to my position. So if you're looking for a tricky melee class that's got a lot of tools of the trade to deal with almost any situation in the game, or you just want to be super acrobatic and sneaky, go for the Ninja. Just be prepared to put in a lot of time to learn the class. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Hero Spotlight, and this is Arl, signing off.